Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of Next to Madison. I am your host, Madison Malloy. Super excited for this episode. I am sitting down with a gentleman who was working a job when COVID hit, lost his job. Some things happened that he'll go in and share the story. He ended up becoming homeless and decided to start singing. And his life has drastically changed for the better. He has so many great opportunities and deals happening, and it is just such an amazing story. And he's going to share with us how his faith really got him through, led him to the right path he needs to be on. And now he is experiencing massive success. This is such an inspirational story. If you need to be inspired, this episode is absolutely for you. But before we bring our guest on, I just want to remind you, please rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. We've got a YouTube channel.
This episode is brought to you by Balance 7. Balance 7 is a concentrated alkaline with a pH of 11 plus. I didn't realize that acidosis is responsible for almost every infectious disease in our world today. With COVID-19 and the world opening back up, I started taking Balance 7, and after 3 days of taking it, I feel better. I have more energy. My focus is better. I think clearer. This supplement is amazing. Thanks, Dr. Noristani, for the recommendation. And all Next to Madison listeners are able to try it today by visiting balance7.com and enter code word Madison for a complimentary gift and free shipping.
All right, we are back with our amazing and inspirational guest on this episode. I'd like to welcome Sal Sinatra. How are you doing?
How are you?
I'm so excited you're here. I just love your story, and I'm so excited for everybody to hear this story. So let's just get into it. Tell us what happened right before COVID, because this is like where your whole life changed.
Well, right before COVID, I was in a legal battle over an apartment, and pretty much the apartment was subsidized, so I didn't put my name on the lease and whole thing. It was family related.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I lost the battle, so I got evicted right before COVID. So, I wasn't protected by the whole COVID, you can't get evicted thing. I got evicted right before, maybe a month before, like the lockdown. And so when I got evicted, previously my whole family had passed away, and the apartment that I was in had belonged to my mom anyway. I had been suffering from depression. I wasn't motivated too, so that kind of added to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And, I would pray, and then, after getting evicted, you go through those questions like, God, why would you make me suffer so much? It's like, you can't see what he's going to do. And at the moment it's happening, it seems like this is not fair,
Yeah.
and especially if you're living a good life. So you go through these things. I went through depression. Like I said, I got evicted because I was, at the end of the day, I wasn't on the lease on the apartment. And I still had a job, but I, couldn't stay with anyone. And I wound up in a homeless shelter. Then COVID hit like a month later. Well, the dealership that I was working at I was selling automobiles, and I was making pretty good money. They closed down. They couldn't even take a customer, and there was a lockdown. So I was in a homeless shelter during the lockdown of like the 5-month period where they said, don't go out of your house.
Yeah.
It was kind of fortunate. You think you're going through misfortune, but it was fortunate that I was in a place I didn't have to pay rent or worry about anything. And so while you're going through it, like I'm saying, it seems like misfortune, but there's a plan, and there's somebody working the strings, and the guy behind the curtain.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of friends. I had gone to karaoke and I had sang a Frank Sinatra song, but I was in finance. I just did that for fun. My friends were like, well, look, COVID hit, but you could still go to the streets, wear a mask, and sing, because you're a good singer, sing in the streets. And I was like, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. It took me a long time. And then I eventually I went out and I started singing in Central Park, and the people were reacting in a way that I couldn't believe it myself. It was very hard, if you sing a song and people tell you things like you're better than Frank Sinatra. When I look at Frank Sinatra as the big daddy of big daddies.
Yeah.
So anyway, as far as here on earth.
Yeah.
So because there's none greater than the Most High, right? So
Exactly.
um and in scripture Jesus says, why callest me, thou good? There's only one good, but the Father in heaven. So I mean, but Frank Sinatra, I revered him, his talent, and I respected him. So since I was singing his music, it was hard to believe. And eventually I got the confidence and started learning more songs, and then people started inviting me to do gigs, and things started happening. And in the past 8 months especially, it's been like you get to a point where you know that you didn't make a phone call and somebody just calls you and pushes you through. You get to the realization, like, this is not me doing this. This is not, I know other singers, I know other actors that are struggling, that don't get the opportunity. It's almost like you go through the fire, and God says, all right, you've had enough. I see your heart. I know when you get a lot of money, you're not going to go astray. I know that in your heart you're a good person. I know that you didn't give up. I know that you didn't go crazy. I know that you didn't let demons in your life. I know that you didn't go to jail or rob something, and I put you through the fire. And it's just, he just opens up things for you, because you you
Wow.
you it's not in your control. You can sense that it's not in your control. And that's when you really become humble. When you say, you know what, I can't even say like I'm so good, even though people are like, wow, your voice, and wow, wow, wow. It's hard to handle that. It's like you say thank you, and then thank you, and then thank you again, thank you.
Well, I heard you
And
sing and you are amazing.
thank you so much. Thank
I
you.
mean, it
But
was,
it's not me. He gave me the gift,
yeah. You know,
the creator.
I was just watching something the other day. It popped up on Instagram. It was I believe Pharrell, the
Yeah.
the singer, and
Yeah.
he was talking about kind of God and fate, and he was saying that people put so much stress on, is this going to happen? What's going to happen? Blah blah blah. I need to do this. I need to do that. When he's like, God will work in your life, and there's no person that can interfere with the plan. So if it's part of the plan, it is going to happen. So try to take a step back, relax, and try
Yes.
to tune into what the plan is. And I
Yes.
saw that and I go, oh my gosh, that's like Sal. This is Sal Sinatra's life.
It's funny you say Pharrell, because his main assistant, or I mean, she does a lot. She used to be on Vibe magazine, and her name is Michelle. I grew up with her, and I saw her like in a video with him, and I was like, hey, but she didn't respond to me, because she's probably like, she's really super famous. So these people probably don't even look at their own Instagram. But it's funny you said Pharrell. Yeah, you start. I was sitting in bar 9 when I did a show, and I was talking to two of the musicians, two of the men that performed there, Nate and Alan, and we were talking about how we have a great time and we have joy, but then when you go home, you're pulling your equipment and you get on a bus or something and you go home. So it you have to stay humble, and along the way, you learn at every turn how to stay humble,
So
how to
important.
know that the guy, like, if you're famous, you shouldn't be annoyed at the people wanting to sit and talk to you, because then you're putting yourself out there, first of all,
Yeah.
and you're judging someone when you were them. Like when I was homeless, I don't judge homeless people anymore. I of course, there's a lot of people out there who are mentally ill, and two of the things that I want to address, if God willing, that everything is a success, is the mental health issue in the streets and homeless issues in the streets. I was in the homeless shelter, and being able to look around and analyze it, I saw what can fix the homeless problem in Manhattan, at least where I live in Manhattan in New York City. I know how to make the streets safe. And I came up with a formula, and I went to de Blasio's mansion, and we were protesting outside against not having safe streets in the city.
Yeah.
And I saw that the people that I went with were starting to repeat my ideas and say like it was their ideas, and then they ran for office based on my ideas, but they didn't implement them. Why? Because they don't honestly want to fix it. They just want to sound like they want to fix it and
So
get the vote and get the position.
why do you think they don't want to fix it?
They don't want to fix it because they're lazy, because it's a lot of work. It's a big hill to climb, but it's not really a big hill to climb. There are shortcuts. There's a way you can do it quickly. And the way, it's there's a lot of different, it's like 5 or 6 different issues. But with 6 different issues, me personally, if I was given the power politically, or like I said, if God willing, this is a success and I make millions of dollars, I don't need a Rolex watch. I have my nice watch that fits my phone. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
okay, if God so chooses to send me a good wife that, number one, loves God more than she loves me, because that's like the prerequisite, right?
I like that.
And it should be that way. It,
Yeah,
it says in the scripture, there's going to be a point where mothers are going to be against daughters, and fathers are going to be against sons, because you're going to have to choose God over the things of this world. And if people are living wicked, you have to get away from them. It's the same thing that people believe in esoteric energy. Like if there's bad vibes or bad energy or wicked energy or whatever it is, they
yeah,
get away from it. It's
yes,
the same thing. Everybody's saying the same thing.
exactly.
Science says the same thing religion says. While I was in the homeless shelter, I wrote a book. I self-published it, and we're now going to put it on Amazon, but that's next year.
Okay.
And the book is called God, Time Travel, and the Secrets of the Universe. Because I was able to have a lot of time to do research on scriptures, on history, on prophecy, on archaeology, and really be able to understand science and quantum physics and how it all really says the same thing. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of things about Darwin's theory that are easy to debunk. I came up with 4 points in the book, but not to change the subject of music, eventually I'll release that. And I just want to help people. I
Yeah.
want to help. I know what it's like to hurt. I want to help
So
women.
inspiring.
I want to help men become better men. I
Hmm.
seem to be a good mediator between old and young, women and men. I see their both communications, and maybe a friend of mine says it's because I'm an evolved man or whatever the case may be. I'm pretty smart, I think, and I have a lot of experience, and I've suffered a lot, and I've seen a lot of pain, and I know what it's like to be emotional, and I've educated myself on how the brain works. The left side is the logic side, the right side is the artistic and spiritual side. And, you know, just because women work with emotions, men can't blame them for using emotions, because emotions come from spirit.
Yeah.
So they should be happy that a woman has an emotion, and they should use that as help in a household in general, just to guide. A woman's intuition is great.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, women are too emotional. No, hey, babe, I'm glad you're emotional. What do you think we should do about this?
Right.
And it's the whole thing that men don't want to give up control, and women are angry. And so you have to see both sides, and you have to see that women are angry because of what? Suffering. When you ask a Buddhist or you ask a Dalai Lama or anyone who's in that type of philosophy, they'll tell you that anger comes from suffering, from pain. And
Right.
so men look at the anger and say, oh, women are crazy. It's like, no, she's not crazy. She's angry. And you should at least sit down and hear her out,
Yeah.
not just dismiss her, you know? And the same way, a woman should hear a man out and find out, hey, what does a woman, what does a man want too? It
Yeah.
should be an equal thing. God made us, all right, to procreate, right? God made us to be fruitful and multiply. Now, some people will argue, okay, what about the gay community or the trans community or stuff like that? Okay, just because I believe that I believe in God's word. His word says, be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
I am attracted to a woman. I would be with a woman that would be attracted to a man. I understand your point. I understand that you feel like you were assigned female at birth and you're presenting as a man, or you're assigned male at birth. And when I say assigned, I mean by nature, because that's XY chromosome. You
Right.
weren't just like assigned because somebody decided out of their mind, like, hey, let me be evil. And I know this baby is really a man, but I'm going to purposely assign them female. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, there's no conspiracy to do that. It is just science and what we know to be true as far as science. Now, can things evolve? Yes. Can men evolve? Because if I don't want to accept that a person can realize they're gay or realize they feel like a woman or whatever, can I have to believe they can evolve just like I've evolved as a man to be able to understand women or
Yeah.
to understand them. So we're in a point of where tradition is fighting evolution. And we have to find that happy medium,
Yeah.
because if it's my duty to face judgment day and that's what I believe, that's fine.
Hmm.
I can't, I can tell someone what the scripture says. I could tell them what to do. But once you tell them, the scripture tells you, once you've let them know about their sin, you can wash your hands from your responsibility. I believe that once I've told you right or wrong, which a lot of people know right or wrong already,
Hmm.
then it's up to you to make your decision. I can't force you or keep harping on it. And if you want to be whoever you want to be, you want to present yourself as a male or present yourself as a female, that's fine. Live your life. I can also be like, no, you can't live your life. You can't exist, because that's when you talk to them, like I talk to them, you see that they're like, they feel as if they're fighting to exist. And if the world
Yeah.
would just let them be, then they wouldn't feel like they're fighting to exist.
Yeah. I've
Just
always,
let them be them.
yeah, I've always thought like, people need to have their own, as long as they're not stealing, murdering, or causing harm, like just let people be who they want to
Who
be.
they, right,
Not,
exactly,
it doesn't affect my life. It shouldn't
exactly,
affect their life that I want to be this way or they want to be that way. It's just, I think
exactly.
it's just what God really wants is for us just to accept each other for our similarities and our differences.
And let God do the judgment. Let God do the judgment.
Exactly. And like we don't know till we get there what is the judgment, it's the Bible says so much, but I think it's really just loving people for who they are and being kind
Exactly,
is you're going to win every time. It's like
exactly.
just because like I don't want to throw my lifestyle down somebody's throat and say, "Well, you have to be like me." That's just stupid. And vice versa.
Right.
And I think what's happening now is people are it's too much in your face of certain things
Yeah.
on both sides,
Yeah.
and that's when people are like, "Well, I don't know what to do. I've been listening." People are just confused, and we
Right.
just need to understand, like, be who you
It's a
are.
lack of listening. It's a lack of listening, because all right. So a transgender person or a gay person probably would say their situation is deeper, but my situation, when told people, all right, I'm gonna sing and like this is where I'm going, And people that are businessmen, met friends of mine that are like in finance with me,
Uh-huh.
they're like, you're out of your mind. That's not a career. There's no retirement plan. There's no this, there's no that. So there were people telling me too, don't do it, you know? And but most of the people that would hear me sing,
Mm-hmm.
those would be the people that would be like, you have to do this. You have to do it. You're good at it. Do it. And that's what gave me the confidence until I actually went to a vocal coach and she was like, wow, you have an amazing voice. And then I was like, okay, if she thinks that, fine. She gave me like 2 lessons, 4 lessons, and she tried to help me, but she's never around. She's like in Norway. She travels, so I just happened to meet her by chance. So I wasn't able to take vocal lessons, but I listened to Frank Sinatra. I looked at his documentaries. I looked at his movies. I looked at his story, and you know I just listened to how he does it, and I make sure I don't imitate him, because to be then you're like a Frank Sinatra impersonator. I'm singing the music because it fills me with joy.
Yeah.
Every song that I sing, if it doesn't fill me, I have a lot of people going, "Oh, you have a baritone voice, sing Barry White." And I'm like, Barry White's cool and it makes me dance, but it doesn't fill me with joy. Like when I sing, like, I've got the world on a string. Like it, as soon as I sing that, it makes me smile.
Yeah. And that's what it is with the joy. And that's a whole thing too, is like, you know, following your dream, right? We hear this a lot where it's like follow your dream, like Oprah said it, and the money will come. Do what you love and the money will come. Yes and no. You have to be realistic about your dream, because I know some guys whose dream is to lay in bed and masturbate all day. That's not going to make you money. Well, maybe it might now because of
You
OnlyFans, but
know guys like that? If you know guys like that, girl, run.
yeah, right, exactly. So, but yeah, you have to be realistic, but also you do need to follow your dreams. So, were you hesitant when you said, okay, I'm going to leave like a corporate job or the corporate world that I've always been used to? I
Sure,
had
it's
that
scary.
constant paycheck.
It's scary. It's so scary because, like, when I first went to the train, I didn't even have a speaker and a microphone at first. So I go and I'm at a homeless shelter, and then there's a woman's homeless shelter up the block. So
Uh-huh.
my friend, a girl who I met, would always just sit down in the park and talk, and you want people to talk to and tell your story and share stories and have lunch or whatever. And we'd hang out, and she was like a sister to me, and she was like, you want me to go with you, because friends were telling me go to the train and just sing. So I'm like, yeah. So we go out the first day, and I'm so embarrassed to ask for money in public because I come from I worked, so I'm like, oh man, like I feel like terrible bothering people and asking. And she was like, no, no, just sing. And I was like, all right. So I didn't even ask people for money. I was like, I'm trying to get over a fear. My name is Sal, and I'm just going to sing a song. And then I sang, and I went through the whole train. Nobody gave me a tip. And then I stood next to her and I said, you see, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. And then the train stops and a woman's getting off, and she gives me $2. And that $2 was the the little nudge. It was just like the little nudge that started the roller coaster going. It
Yeah.
was like, okay, wait a minute, I was wrong. Somebody did hear me. Somebody did appreciate what I did. And
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, let me see. I went around to all the buskers and I said, what type of speaker do you use? What do you do? How long do you sing? How much do you make? I started taking statistics. I approached it like a business. And then I was like, all right, let me see. So I need, because they would tell me about their problems, about them needing electricity for the speaker, that, and they had to only go to a place they could plug in. And I was like, all right, so I need a battery operated speaker that has Bluetooth and then also has a second Bluetooth for a cordless mic. So there was only one, and they were selling it at a Sam Ash. So the Sam Ash was in Jersey. So I took a bus out to Jersey and I go and I speak to the manager, and the manager's like, I'm pissed off at my boss and I don't want to work here anymore. I want him to fire me. He was like, I know you're in the homeless shelter here. Just take the speaker. And I was like, what? And he was like, just take it. Just take it. I want him to see me on video and I want to get fired. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to get me in trouble. And he was like, no, no, you have no responsibility. I'm giving it to you as a gift. Just take it and go. And I took the speaker and went back to the shelter.
Wow.
So then, of course, and you pray and give me a sign. And I'm like, wow, it's like a big sign. Lord, sorry, please forgive me. It's kind of like part of stealing. So I feel bad. But he gave it to me. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to run with it, God, because it seems like you want me to do this. So I go, you know, I go and I'm like, I sing in COVID. It was during COVID. So people had masks on, but they were jogging in Central Park. And as I was singing, people would stop and just give me $5 and give me $1 and give me $20 and give me
Wow.
$10. And I was like, the first day I went, I think I made like $146. And I was like, I could save my money. I saw a way out of the shelter because they weren't doing anything. That whole system is designed to keep the men in there and keep the paychecks coming and feeding everybody off of the paychecks. That's how it's designed.
Well,
So,
yeah, our whole world is designed that way, in my opinion. I feel like to
right,
keep
there are
people
several industries, but
just
I'm saying
enough.
just with the homeless shelters, it creates more damage because if you're just hiring your friends and your cousins to come in and get a paycheck, and these men are mentally ill, and there's no qualified psychologist on call to give these men observation and put them in the right facilities and get them the right help, or people that are drug addicted need the right help. They don't just need to be in a hotel just hanging out watching TV. Um, you know, if they did the right thing, you could fix the homeless shelters in 2 weeks. I have a 2-week plan to eradicate homelessness in New York City. And I'm
Wow.
not going to tell anybody until either I have the money myself and the power, or I meet the right people that are in power. Because right now, it doesn't look like anyone cares. Okay, Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, he's put more police on the streets. That's great. It's safer because there's more police. But how about addressing the mentally ill people that are suffering and walking around and they're not okay? And
Right.
things happen. People getting pushed on trains, people getting stabbed, and it's mostly mentally ill people. So the mental illness epidemic that we've had and it's like a misdirection because they have on 30th Street and First Avenue in Bellevue is where the intake is, and also on Ward's Island. So those people are assessing the men that come in there and they're not qualified. They're not qualified. So I know the problems, and that's what I want to do. I see the gift that I've been given as far as everything has been kind of easy for me. I've discovered my voice. So at this point, I'm starting to really sing better and better. And I'm trying to just get better at the craft itself, learning the instruments, oh man, my manager, shout out to my manager, Drew Coles. He we just did a song yesterday that is so awesome. He's just so talented and so smart. He's a professor at Columbia University, does music theory, and you know, to find that guy, or for him to find me, or for God to put us together, and the things that are happening now are on so much bigger of a scale that I pretty much know that it's going to be successful now. It's not kind of like I'm
Oh,
wondering
yeah.
if it is. But the wheels are already set for me to. I have a movie coming out soon. I'm in a movie called Don Q. And most of the cast of The Sopranos is in the movie.
That is
It's
so
starring it's starring Armando Sante and Chuck Zito, and the movie's a great movie. I have no lines in it, but this movie has now led me to be in talks with someone else, a director, to play Jackie Gleason for his life story. So it's really get going at, and we're recording already. We're recording an album. We're recording Christmas songs, and
Just
you
unbelievable.
know, it's just everything has happened within a year. This is a year ago. I was homeless. This is a year ago.
So how did you,
CNN.
I know, like,
How God? How God? God.
yeah.
It's
Okay,
not in
so,
my, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Listen, I was singing one day in Central Park. Woman comes up to me. She says, "Hey, me and my husband were here last week. Remember we gave you $20?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, we're Christians, and I really, really was praying for you. And what I did was I went to Facebook and I got your image and I put it on a business card and I made you these business cards." She just brought them to me in Central Park.
that's
She's like, "I printed
amazing.
you a sign." So the sign was like, Venmo information and that stuff that's on my Facebook and Instagram. She put it on business card and a sign. Every step of the way, every dollar that I've gotten, every penny, every time, someone puts a penny, some people go, they're like ungrateful. They say, "Oh, he only gave me a penny. What an insult." No, he gave you something. He wanted to go in his pocket. He was inspired to give you anything. He could have gave you a prayer on a card. One girl gave me a little statue of some angel wings. And
Oh,
it just, each one, women have given me flowers. I get a lot of flowers from women. And it's
oh,
so beautiful. It's touching for a girl to give a guy flowers. Hey, listen, a guy can't even get a date these days.
yeah.
So to get flowers, it's great, But
So let's
it,
talk
it,
about that. Let's talk about that. How
what,
our
dating? Oh,
listeners,
oh, sure. You want to
no,
go
not,
out?
no,
What?
not,
Oh,
we can talk
I'm
about that one.
sorry.
Not
I'm
dating.
sorry. I'm just out. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
How
I'm kidding. I'm messing with you.
how the listeners can use prayer or the universe or what they believe in to help speed up and meet their goals or their desires. Like
Well,
how,
that's two questions because prayer is to God. The universe is the elements that God created.
yeah,
So so when you're using, okay, so God gave us he gave me this voice, even though I didn't discover it till I was older and I just discovered I could sing. He gave it to me at birth
yeah,
already. Your discernment, your ability to think, your ability to speak, everything has been, obviously speech is a result of socialization and learning in school.
mhm,
But you're born with a certain amount of talents and a certain amount of power. Faith is a power. It speaks about faith in the scriptures. Belief. Faith is belief.
yeah,
Believing that something's going to happen is not enough. You have to actually see the thing that you want and put your brain in an electrical frequency of happiness for the way that thing makes you feel. And then you have to stay in that happiness in order to manipulate energy and matter and reality. That is something that is of our power. You can use that power. However, because we're not perfect and we're not always happy, we slip. So it gives us this up and down life. Things are really, really good and then they crash. Things are really, really good and then they crash because our emotions cannot stay really, really good. We don't have that power. God is perfect. God never gets depressed. So when you say, okay, I'm going to feel as positive as I can, but my faith I'm going to put in God and let Him handle it, then you can let go of the wheel and
so
not to,
okay, so you're saying like if somebody's trying to manifest, let's use starting a business. Let's use that for an example.
yeah,
They've
yeah.
had an idea and they just don't know where to start. They feel they have a plan, but they're not sure where to go. How can they start using the law of attraction and God to speed up and make this a reality?
That's easy. Okay, first of all, you don't have to use the law of attraction to start a business. You have to look at the movie Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
And when you look at Kevin Costner saying, build it and they will come.
Uh-huh.
And you listen to people like that guy Proctor, he says, when do you start on your dreams? And he answers, when you're finished. Meaning, first, you have to see it in your mind. You have to see the end result first. When you want that job, that business, or you want that thing, you want to create a life, and that vision is in your brain. So you have to finish the job before you even start.
In your
In
mind.
your mind, in your mind.
So how do you stay on that frequency? Because I've heard with the law of attraction, like it's not just the vision boards, it's not just
No,
imagining what you want,
no,
it's
no, no.
feeling. It's like,
Yeah.
but then you always have to stay in there. So what happens when you hit bumps in the road? How do you not mess with that frequency?
Okay. That's a good question. That's a good question. But I just want to finish what it takes to start the business.
Okay.
It's to see the business done. But then once you see it, you have to take a piece of blank paper and start writing down the points of the business and then fill them in as you go, as time goes by. When I write a book, I go, first chapter is going to be this, second chapter is going to be this, third chapter is going to be this, fourth chapter is going to be this. I don't write the information down. I just write first chapter and the title of it. And that can even change. But
Mm-hmm.
the point is, when you want to start a business and you want to really start it, I reference Field of Dreams, build it and they will come, have it done before it starts. It means before you start the business, before you want to think positive, before you want to go to investors, before you want to do anything, get a piece of paper and a pen and put your idea in live in front of your face.
And then hang it on a mirror?
No,
Oh,
that's how you start.
right.
Then you pray. Then you use law of attraction. Then you said, how do you start? Start. Piece of
Yeah.
paper, pen, bing, write it down. Even a book. I want a children's book. I want to do a children's book. All right, well, what is it going to be about? It's going to be about this. So what would I name it? I name it this. Write it down. Bing. The book has already started once you write it.
Yeah.
Once you write it, it's done. Once you
Yeah.
write it, it's going. And you have to have that knowledge to know once I write it, it's going to go. Once I start it, it's going to go.
Yeah.
You have to start.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the next question you asked me, I kind of lost it. I forgot the next question you asked me
It's like, how do you
was,
use God to help make it a reality and a success?
and you also said, how do you stay in that vibration even though you have
Yes.
bumps in the
So
road?
you don't lose the
Okay.
frequency because you're gonna have bumps in the road.
Okay. So, have you ever seen Abraham Hicks?
Yeah.
Okay, so Abraham Hicks is the fine tuner of that part of it. And this was the reason why I needed to write a book, because you got many different parts. You've got God, you've got the law of attraction, you've got science, you've got this, you got that, you got rumors. You have to look at all of them and see how they fit. What's the algorithm to them? So when you're coming to bumps in the road, I say refer totally to Abraham Hicks. What does Abraham Hicks say? The first thing is contrast. She means the first thing is problems, bumps in the roads. The bumps in the roads show you what you don't want. You think of what you do want. Step two, the universe goes, I got what you want, it's done. Step three is practicing how to stay happy. And when you go back to step one, realize you're on step one. Okay, that's contrast. Let me go back to being happy. And you do it over and over again every day, every 15 minutes, every 10 minutes, every half an hour, and every minute. And you start being mindful of how I feel.
Yeah.
In order to do that, you have to handle the number one problem that's affecting people in this country and around the world: depression.
Yeah.
Everyone has some sort of depression. That's why people, when you meet them, they always want to tell you their story or tell you about themselves. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone needs therapy. Everybody is looking to dump that on a therapist. And because most people will not go to therapy, okay, they'll say, oh, yeah, I need therapy. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go. But they're not really listening to the therapist, involved in their mental health. They go to the therapist, they dump, and then they leave. I have
Yeah.
psychiatrist friends who tell me, you know, when you're a friend with a psychiatrist who's getting dumped on all day,
I can't
and he's
imagine.
your friend, and you're not paying him $90 an hour, $150 an hour, whatever it is, he'll tell you, "Don't dump on me. I don't want to hear." And I thought about it, and in my book, God, Time Travel, and the Secrets of the Universe, on the section where I'm teaching people how to time travel and about time travel and time manipulation,
Wow.
I teach people about what time travel is. It's not forward and backward because time is all encompassing. It's not the fourth dimension because in the first, second, and third dimension, time is still present. So if it was the fourth dimension, it'd have to go according to the law of science, building one dimension upon the other, first being length and width and depth, and then the fourth dimension having to build off the third because it's a building block. So time is present in the second and third dimension, so it can't be the fourth dimension. And when you think about the fourth dimension being an add-on to the third dimension, you think of dimension bending and time manipulation. So it gets deep. Listen,
I can't wait to read this.
we'll be like we'll go viral for the Science Channel. For Michio Kaku will be calling your phone. Where's that guy at? One of these. He's
Yeah.
the theoretical physics professor at Columbia University. But anyway,
Wow.
in the book, I'm unifying the theory of relativity and Einstein science with quantum physics and how it works, and how through science you can prove the existence of the spiritual realm. If you can prove the existence of the spiritual realm, then God must exist. It is
Exactly.
irrevertible truth that God exists. And
Yes.
it's with
Amen.
physical, scientific experiments and laws and truths that a scientist has to say, yeah, you're right. It's And this has been known by some people. I mean, I've known other people that have known the same thing I've known, and they've been, you know, people like me who have both sides. I use logic and science, and I also have an artistic mind. So I think I use a lot of my brain. Most people, they're just worried about their bills and
Yeah. So
what game they're gonna play.
how can people use this different dimensions and this time travel to also get what they want and make their goals and dreams a reality?
Well, we went over most of the answer, but as far as time travel is concerned, it's not forward and backwards, it's negative and positive. So
Ah,
going into the past, you have to look at it as negative time travel. Why is it negative? For several reasons. Negative, number one, because you can't add to it. You can only add to the future. You can only go into the future in your mind, right? We're not talking about a magic time travel machine because the body cannot withstand what it would take, which is beyond the speed of light. The molecular structure of the body would break apart at that speed. And so would any rocket ship made out of metal. So it's because it's not viable in the third dimension, you have to think to yourself, well, how could time travel be viable? And we do it all the time. We're living in the now, and every second we're going into the future, and we can jump and go far into the future and go, yep, I can picture the house, I can picture the car, and you can get exactly what you want, or you can get very close to it. Um, you need frequency to do that. Going back to Abraham Hicks. And then I said, and then first you need to cure depression. So you have to first stop negative time travel,
which is
going back into the
living the
past.
past.
If you're talking about the past, you're messed up. You
But
got to
there's
catch
but
yourself.
there's the positive past is memories, right? Oh, remember when we all went to
Sure,
Greece
there
and
is
had the best
positive, there
time?
is positive past, but even stronger than a positive past is a positive now.
Yeah, because
I
I think we've
am
all.
not going into the past to look at positive or negative. That's already done. I'm in the now and the future. The
That's so well
future is
said.
my positive vision,
Yeah.
and my now is positive. So there's only positive now. Negative time
Yeah.
travel can be positive and negative. There is negative. It will come across your mind. You may think of a good time, and then you'll think of somebody, and then you think how crappy they were to you.
Or
So
I wish I had done this. You can't do
I
that.
wish
I
I
wish I had.
regret,
Yeah.
regret, right, regret. And so you know, that's why I'm very careful to never negative time travel. I had someone call me the other day, a family member, and my sister, same one that sued me for the apartment in
Oh,
Manhattan. But anyway, uh, my sister calls me and she says, "I've got you on video saying to somebody on a recording, saying to somebody that I asked you to loan me $240,000." This was her opening statement. Did you tell somebody that I asked you for $240,000? I'm like, I don't know. I just came out of a homeless shelter and I'm touring around the world and about to do a movie. I have no clue. I'm in the now. And she's like, I have the recording, and I start hearing the recording. And I think the recording was of me and my other brother. And I was telling him how she said she wanted to get a house in Florida and that I should invest partial in a $240,000 house, which she did. She asked me for that. But I didn't respond to her because to respond to her you understand, her brain is, she's time traveled into the past and she's feeling that frustration from the past, that negative past. And I'm here in the future and she's like coming out, it's almost like a portal would open up and someone comes through and is like, I'm gonna bring you back into like, no. I was like, listen, you have to stop concentrating in the past, you know, do better for yourself, be happier, concentrate on the now. I'm not sure what I said 6 years ago. That's
right.
on tape. That you asked to borrow money. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Be positive. Have a nice day. Don't talk about the past. Remember, I said don't negative time travel. Have a good day. I have
Yeah.
an interview on Zoom soon, and I really have to be.
Yeah.
No, I was on the way to the studio yesterday, and so I told her, I said I'm on the way to the studio to make a hit record. I just get out of the past, honey. Get out of the past. Because it's not like I killed your dog. You know what I mean? Like you're mad because I said you asked to borrow money. So if it wasn't true, what's the big deal? It was so long. I know when that recording was like from 2017. So it's like,
Right.
like I was having an argument with my brother about the way my sister is always asked me to come and defend her against her crazy bad choice boyfriends that I had to risk my life fighting them for her. Her tenants that wouldn't get out of her house, and I always had to go and talk to them and kind of let them know, hey, you're not going to be squatting over here. And every time she went to the hospital, I was the first one there. So it's
Yeah.
like you're calling me about a phone call because you're negative time traveling.
Right.
You
Right.
you're going. You're in the past.
So
Don't talk to me about the past, and don't let people complain. Complains. The complaints of other people that are in a negative vibe, and you're happy. You're happy. You're doing interviews. You're living your dream. However it is coming true, we're here right now on the camera, and you're doing it right.
yeah.
So I'm living my dream. We're two happy people exchanging information. There's no attitudes. There's no negativity. There's no anything. Yes, did I tell a story of how I got here? But the whole story was positive and magical. That's the
Yes.
point. That's the point. Once you get into that positive mode where you're constantly, when you feel bad, think about like what just made me feel bad. Okay, I was thinking about this. I'm thinking, okay, you know what? That's negative. That's in the past. You know what I am? I'm thinking about what that guy said to me and how I felt about it, and that's negative. Okay, let me go to the positive. And you just don't even. It's not like you're saying, oh, he doesn't matter, or that person doesn't matter, their opinion doesn't matter. It's just I refuse to get out of my vibration. I'm in my
Yeah.
vibration, and you're gonna have to meet me here. You're
No,
gonna have to
I
meet
love.
me in the positive.
Yeah, and
So
another thing that has really kind of, worked for me because being an artist and going through those struggles and going through financial hardship and how I was able to kind of really get out of it was is a whole process with an announcement coming out soon. But one of the things that I had heard from the amazing Tony Robbins was life happens for you, not to you. And I remember hearing it, and then it all of a sudden I started putting it into my everyday life, right? So, for example, and it changed everything because it switched from a negative to a positive, right? So, you blow out your hair, put on your makeup, or put on your suit if you're a guy, or a nice outfit, and then an hour before you walk out the door, the person cancels on you. It's easy to be like, oh well, that sucks. I spent all this time getting ready, and now I gotta sit at home and blah 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 blah. That's life happening to you. If it's life happening for you, I always think, okay, well, there's a reason I wasn't meant to be at that restaurant. Oh, now I'm not going out to dinner. Well, I'm going to save the money. Well, maybe we can find an even better place next time. So it's like it's for you. So every time things get canceled, instead of being like a traffic jam or a long line, you could, and I've used this a lot where I've like I missed a flight one time, and I never miss anything. I'm the most punctual person. And
oh my
instead of
God,
being
shame on
pissed,
you.
I know, instead of being pissed about it, I went, you know what? There's a reason I'm not supposed to be in that city at that time. There's a reason for it. I know that God's protecting me, and
Yeah,
somehow this is going to work in my favor. And then
that's
you
right.
just take a very positive outlook because then you think, well, maybe I'm supposed
That's
to go to
amazing.
a
That's
bar
what
and
people need
yeah,
to. That's what people need to be alike. Going back to Abraham Hicks, I said, and step three is when you sometimes go back to contrast and you feel happy some of the time. Step four is when you learn to feel happy most of the time, almost 90% of the time, and you're very aware of emotions and everything goes smooth. But step five is when you laugh at the adversity. When you think back, I remember this happened to me and it worked out. I remember this happened to me and I was
it
okay. I
always works
remember
out.
this happened to me and it always works out.
Always.
And so you laugh at the contrast. It's like, oh, there was a big fire, my house got burned.
Oh,
That's amazing. I'm gonna go to stay in my mother's house where there's kids, or who knows. You always have to find the silver lining, and that's positivity.
yeah.
Positive thoughts have certain rules. Find the silver lining. Don't be around negative people. There's ways to stay fully positive. If you can manage 100% positivity, right now, I would say I'm at like 95% positivity. There's only 5%, maybe 90% positivity. 10%. I would say 10% because I got to give it more credit than that.
Yeah.
My only 10% missing is that I never found how would you say, a soulmate, right? So people say, oh, you seeing there's women that come up to you, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not that type of guy. I'm not the guy in the nightlife and the women come up to me and I'm gonna be having groupies. Like I'm softer at heart than other guys.
Yeah.
And oh, can I be brave? Can I be tough if there's a problem? Yes. If I have to protect somebody, yes. But I'm saying being evolved and being able to even admit that I'm softer as a man is just a truth about me that I'm more romantic. So I want to find that one woman. And the fact that I haven't found her since, I mean, I've been looking since I was 5 and I'm 51. Yeah,
Since you were
well, you
5?
know when I was 5 years old, I was in kindergarten, right? So we're
Okay.
talking about 1976. In kindergarten, there wasn't like reading and writing like they started doing in the 90s and 2000s. It was like toys that you would play with. So we had this kitchen set, and this pretty young girl, she was like in my class, and we were playing with the kitchen set. She's like, "You want to play husband and wife?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she got like a empty little teacup and an empty little plate. She was like, "Here's your dinner, my husband. Here's your thing."
Oh,
And it was very romantic, but in the sense that like when I was 5, it just clicked, and I would say almost like a memory of like a past life of like losing your love and like being there specifically to find her. It was like that type of idea ran through my brain at 5 years old.
yeah.
And it was like I knew like I had to find her. So what happened was all my life, every single woman that I met, even in passing, I would say, "Is that her? Is it she the one? Is she the one? Is she the one? Is she the one?" And I've never met her.
Now you have the tips, the tricks, and the tools to
Absolutely.
manifest the right one. So
Sure.
we do have to wrap up because we're running out of time, but I just want you to leave the
Oh
list.
my God, this was an interview about music, and we talked about so many
But
stuff.
everybody got to know you, so I like that. But I want you to leave us with this before
Yeah.
you. Okay, so just give us your top 3 tips to staying positive.
Number one, if you're depressed, dive deep into your depression, listen to the slow song, think about the person that you missed, think about the person who passed away, dive deep into it and cry until you can't cry no more, and you'll get over your depression. Number one, that's the first thing. Number two, the second step, listen to Abraham Hicks, bring your vibration up at all times, and always be aware of how you feel. When you feel bad, change your environment or just relax and meditate and fall back. And number three, surround yourself with positive people.
I love it. And where can everybody find you and hear your music and follow your journeys?
That's fantastic. We just put a website up called sal-sinatra.com.
Okay.
It's going to have the music that we're recording and my bio and stuff like that.
Perfect.
Pretty soon. It's you can go to it, it's up, but it's just not fully operational. Updates, Instagram is the best place. Sal Sinatra NYC. Sal and then Sinatra, like Frank Sinatra,
Uh-huh.
and NYC.
Perfect. So you guys
Yeah,
definitely go follow him. I've seen him sing. He's amazing. Find his schedule if you're in New York City. Go and watch him perform. But I have a feeling we're going to see you all over the world. So hopefully he'll
thank
be
you so
coming to a
much.
city very, very soon.
Yes.
Christmas is coming up. You've got an album coming out. So you guys definitely Sal Sinatra NYC at Instagram and then
And the
Sal.
movie Don Q, the movie Don Q's about to
Amazing.
drop.
Perfect.
Yeah,
So yeah, check him out
yeah.
on that, and then obviously check out his website so you can stay up to date on what Sal's doing. Sal, I'm so glad that we connected through our mutual friend Ron, and that you blessed us with this interview today. It's inspiring, and it makes you know for a fact that anything in this world is possible, and to not let your obstacles deter you from where you're going. So this was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
That's so insightful. You're so wise. I want to
Oh,
thank
thank you.
you for having me on your show and following up and just being such a great host. You're so pleasant. You're so beautiful. Girl, are you married? What's your story? What's going on? Holla at me on the gram, girl.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah.
No,
All
no,
right. Well,
you're
thank
so
you.
sweet. You're such a great person,
Oh,
and you're so intelligent. And this interview was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And anyone, if you see me out there at a show on the streets or whatever, say hi. I'm not one of those, I
yes, he's
don't.
very friendly.
Yes,
Very
yes.
friendly. So, okay. Well, thank you so much. And everybody listening, wherever you are, thank you again for tuning in to another episode. And we'll see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@next2madison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.